Good morning, my name is Derek Monahan, and today I will be discussing the extent to which reflecting on past memories influences the way one responds to, as well as copes with the death of a loved one. So what is the function of memory? Well, memory plays a major role in a person's life. It allows us to remember certain skills that we use day to day. It allows us to retrieve information stored in the brain, and also, most importantly, it allows us to reflect on past memories, which heavily influence our actions in the present. Memory is processed in a part of the brain called the limbic system. The limbic system, as shown, is highlighted in the picture to the right, includes the hippocampus, the neocortex, and the amygdala. The hippocampus converts short-term memory into long-term memory and then stores this information in the brain. The neocortex is what converts long-term memory from the hippocampus into general knowledge. The amygdala is what ties significance and emotion to each and every one of these memories. There are many factors that influence one's reaction to death. However, age and cultural background seem to be the most significant. Children under the ages of 11 typically feel as if death is temporary, therefore they are least affected. However, teenagers, once they begin to realize the extent of death and how permanent it is, have a larger psychological effect. Adults have the largest effect on them because they not only realize how permanent death is, but they also have a better understanding of how it not only affects them, but others around them as well as their environment. As for cultural backgrounds, some people view death as a routine, something that happens all the time and is inevitable. Therefore, instead of worrying about death, they live their life to their fullest. Others, in different cultures, instead of mourning those that they've lost, celebrate the life that they had in order to honor them. This can be seen in the Dia de los Muertos festivals as shown in this picture. Grief triggers play a major role in the introduction of memory into the grieving process. Grief triggers can be brought on by sight, sound, and action. However, sight and sound are becoming more prevalent, especially in today's changing society. As our society becomes more visual oriented, there is a decrease in the need for words and verbal communication, and instead an increase in photos and videos as a form of expression and communication. A perfect example of this is the Facebook On This Day feature, as shown in the picture to the right. This feature recalls certain memories from your past on the Facebook app at random times. This can act as a grief trigger to many people because it is so unpredictable. So why are memories brought on by grief triggers affect people's perception in the present? So memory is directly linked to how much you're paying attention in the present, and attention is directly proportional to the extent of your emotional response. Therefore, people who experience memories during the grieving process often feel like they are being distracted or as if they're desensitized to the emotional trauma from the event. However, most people feel as if their emotions are heightened and as if their attention and focus is being drawn to this unfortunate event. Most people feel some sort of emotional distress during a time of loss. However, when this distress is too severe, people can hit a psychological break, which leads to what we call a paradox of memories, or a reoccurring endless amount of memories. So in this time, they feel a sense of nostalgia in which they long to live in the past or fear of forgetting who they've lost. These psychological effects can have long-term effects on people, whether it be physical or mental. In my interview that I conducted with Joe Phoenix, as shown in the picture to the right, he mentioned that memory can also have a positive effect on one's response. He said that all some people need is a lot of time in order to enter the healing stage. For him, recalling positive memories such as fun and joyous activities that he spent with his mother allowed him to heal quicker. He also said that within a short period of time, within a year of losing both his mother and his father, that it allowed him to see just how short life is, and therefore he was more motivated to get over the grieving and enter the healing stage, as it was beneficial for not only him, but his family. As for preventative measures to such coping, one thing you can always do is be open about death. You want to discuss death regularly with those around you, whether or not they are healthy. You always want to have a plan in place, whether it be a will or a verbal agreement of what will happen after their death, as well as your role in this situation. If the death is anticipated, all you can really do is spend as much time with this person and try to mentally prepare yourself, no matter how hard that sounds, because any progress will help tremendously during the healing process. One form of coping within our society that has become really common is public grieving. This is when people who have experienced loss, or even loss of the same person, tend to grieve together because they are able to sympathize with each other. And they tend to experience joy more often without guilt. Another thing that you can do is recall on precious moments. However, you have to be very careful of this, because any intense memories, whether it be happy or not, can cause grief triggers. And the last thing you can do when coping with the death of a loved one is to think about what they'd want you to do and how they would want you to live the rest of your life without them. So overall, we see that memories have a negative effect on one's emotional response and ability to cope with the death of a loved one. However, there is hope that with these preventative measures and coping methods, that one will be able to enter the healing stage faster and find happiness. Thank you. What questions do you have?
All right, 2 questions I have for you. First up, if I can read. What information did you need but you weren't able to find? And then how'd you try to find it?
So, at first I was thinking of multiple factors that could heavily influence one's reaction. However, age and cultural background with some other things were the most common, and what I was really looking for wasn't present in any of the research I found.
All right. And what advice would you have for other researchers who consider this topic?
So one thing is that you want to have a great understanding of how the brain works and how memory works with the brain.
All right. Thank you, Bree.